It was a moment like no other. A simple click of a button, a brief but heartfelt message, and the course of one young woman's life changed forever. The girl, an aspiring engineer with big dreams, had been struggling for years. She worked hard, tried to make something of herself, but no matter how many doors she knocked on, they all remained closed. For most of her life, she had been told no, no because of her race, no because of her background, no because of where she was from. It was a harsh reality, one that had worn her down. But she wasn't ready to give up yet. She had heard about Elon Musk before, everyone had. He was a genius, an innovator, and the kind of person people thought only existed in stories. A man who had changed the world with his ideas, his companies, and his ability to think far beyond the ordinary. People looked at him as an icon, a figure so far removed from their own lives that it seemed impossible to ever cross paths with him. He was a billionaire, a force of nature, and most people couldn't even dream of standing in his presence. But this young woman? She had never been one to let barriers stop her. Her friends thought she was crazy. Some even laughed at the thought of her sending a message to someone like Musk. What's the point? He'll never see it, they said. But she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something powerful in reaching out. Maybe this was her last chance, her final opportunity to prove to herself that she could make it. Maybe, just maybe, Elon Musk was the person who could offer her a chance, an opportunity, that no one else would. After much hesitation, she opened her laptop. Her fingers hovered over the keys as her heart raced. It felt surreal, typing a message to someone like Musk. She wasn't asking for charity, and she wasn't asking for pity. She simply wanted a chance, a shot to prove that she was capable. The message she composed was simple, raw, and heartfelt. She told him about her struggles, her dreams, and why she believed in herself despite everything that had tried to hold her back. "I'm not asking for handouts, I'm asking for a chance," she wrote. She spoke of her passion for engineering, her love for technology, and her desire to contribute to something bigger than herself. "I know it's a long shot, but if anyone could see potential in me, it would be someone who's changed the world in the way you have." She hit send before she could think twice about it. The seconds that followed felt like an eternity. She sat there staring at the screen, waiting for some kind of response. Maybe it was the hope she had held on to for so long, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something incredible was about to happen. She went on with her life, trying not to think about the message. But there was a part of her that clung to hope, hope that somehow, in some way, her words would find their way into Musk's hands. It was a long shot, yes, but in a world where dreams often seemed unreachable, wasn't it worth trying? Days passed. Weeks went by. The girl slowly came to terms with the fact that it was a lost cause. She had been foolish to think someone like Musk would even notice her. Still, she couldn't help but feel a little disheartened. The world had already shown her that people like her didn't get opportunities like that. She was just another name in the sea of millions, another face in the crowd. And then, one day, something unbelievable happened. She received an email notification. She glanced at the screen, half expecting it to be another advertisement or a spam message. But when she saw the subject line, her heart stopped. Elon Musk's response. Her breath caught in her throat. She clicked the email, unable to believe what she was reading. It wasn't a rejection, nor was it an automated message like she'd expected. Instead, it was a personal response from Elon Musk himself. She blinked several times, unable to process what she was seeing. In the email, Musk told her that he had read her message. He acknowledged her struggle, praised her determination, and offered to meet with her to discuss her future. The words were kind, thoughtful, and completely unexpected. For a moment, she just stared at the screen, her mind racing. Was this real? Was this really happening? She could hardly believe it. It was as if everything she had hoped for, all the dreams she had clung to, were suddenly within reach. Elon Musk had taken the time to read her message and respond. He had offered her something no one else had, an opportunity. The weight of it all hit her in waves. Her heart raced, her palms were sweaty, and for the first time in years, she felt a spark of hope. This wasn't just a job offer, this was her chance to change her life. This was the moment that could lead to something greater than she had ever imagined. But as she stared at the email, one thought gnawed at her. What was Musk really offering her? Was this a genuine opportunity, or was it a fleeting moment of kindness that would soon be forgotten? She had no way of knowing, but one thing was clear, she wasn't going to let this chance slip away. And so, she made a decision. She would take the leap. No matter what happened, she was going to see this through. After all, she had nothing left to lose, and everything to gain. The girl had always been told that her dreams were too big, too impossible. Growing up, she had faced more than her fair share of obstacles, some visible, some invisible. The world seemed to have a way of putting up walls that made her feel small, like her dreams were meant to be nothing more than fleeting thoughts. Every time she applied for a job, sent in an application, or reached out for help, the response was always the same: no. She was told that there were no opportunities for someone like her, that people with her background, her story, simply didn't belong in spaces like the one she wanted to be a part of. Her passion for engineering, for technology, for making things work had always been a part of her. From a young age, she'd found joy in fixing things around the house, in tinkering with gadgets, and in exploring the possibilities of the future. But as the years went by, her dreams began to feel less like a future she could create and more like a fantasy, something unreachable, a goal set so high that even trying to reach it seemed pointless. Her family tried to offer words of encouragement, but even they could see how difficult things had become. They had always taught her to work hard, to persevere, and to never give up. But as time passed, she started to wonder if those lessons were enough. Were hard work and perseverance really enough to overcome the obstacles in front of her? Every rejection, every closed door made it feel as if the world was against her. And despite her determination, there were times when it felt like all she was doing was spinning her wheels. She had finished school with excellent grades, but it hadn't been enough. Without connections, without the right kind of support, she struggled to find a foothold in the industry she dreamed of. She applied to hundreds of companies, but the responses were always the same: polite, but non-committal. "We're looking for someone with more experience," they said. "At this time, we don't have a position that's right for you." She had learned to accept these rejections, though each one cut a little deeper than the last. It wasn't just the loss of an opportunity, it was the loss of a piece of her confidence. But despite it all, she couldn't let go of the dream. She knew that to make any progress, she had to keep moving forward, even if it felt like she was walking into an endless storm. She knew that life wouldn't hand her anything, that if she wanted to change her story, she had to make it happen herself. But how? She didn't have the luxury of knowing the right people or coming from the right background. Her parents had worked hard to give her everything they could, but their support wasn't enough to open the doors she needed to walk through. She was, in many ways, starting from scratch. And yet, she refused to let the world dictate her future. She had something to prove, not to anyone else, but to herself. She needed to prove that the struggles she faced didn't define her, that the color of her skin or the limitations people tried to place on her didn't determine what she was capable of. When she first heard about Elon Musk, she didn't think much of it. He was a name, a figurehead, someone she had seen on the news but never thought she could be connected to. But as she learned more about him, she couldn't ignore the similarities. Like her, Musk had faced rejection. Like her, he had started from the bottom, facing doubts from others who couldn't see his potential. Musk's story became a source of inspiration for her. If he could overcome the odds, then maybe there was a way for her to do the same. It was during a late night, when she was browsing the internet, that something clicked. She came across a forum that discussed how Musk had taken risks, how he had bet on himself when no one else would. His story wasn't just about success, it was about struggle, resilience, and the courage to continue despite the many no's he had received. That was when the idea struck her, maybe reaching out to Musk wasn't such a crazy idea after all. Maybe he was the one person who would understand what it was like to fight for something you wanted with everything you had. But there was another part of her, the rational side, that told her it was a long shot. A ridiculous, improbable long shot. How could someone like her ever have a chance in a world where people like Musk made the rules? She didn't have the credentials, the connections, or even the right experiences that many others did. She had nothing but a burning passion and a belief that she could make something of herself if only given the chance. The more she thought about it, the more the idea seemed both thrilling and terrifying. What if she was wasting her time? What if it was just another rejection waiting to happen? Still, her heart kept pushing her forward. This was a chance, her chance, and if she didn't take it, she might regret it for the rest of her life. Even if nothing came of it, she would know that she had tried. So, she decided to take the leap. She would craft a message. She would reach out to Musk. But that message, once it was written, would be more than just a simple request for a job. It would be her plea for a shot at something more. It would be the culmination of all the struggles she had faced, all the doors that had been closed in her face, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, someone out there would see her for who she truly was. And so, she sat down, took a deep breath, and began typing. Her fingers flew across the keys as she poured her heart into the message. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. It was the rawest part of her, and it was all she had to offer. When she finally clicked send, she didn't expect much. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was the moment that could change everything. After sending the message, the girl sat there in silence. The weight of her decision hit her in waves. She had done it, she had reached out to one of the most influential people in the world. But now what? She couldn't help but feel a sense of nervousness creeping in. What if she had overestimated her own importance? What if Elon Musk had better things to do than entertain the message of a young woman who had nothing but hope to offer? It was a strange, unsettling feeling, one she had often experienced in her life. The fear of putting herself out there, only to be rejected again. This wasn't just about applying for a job, it was about exposing her vulnerability. She had laid bare her dreams, her struggles, and her belief in herself, and now, she had to wait for a response. That waiting felt like an eternity. Days passed. At first, she checked her phone obsessively, unable to focus on anything else. She refreshed her inbox every few minutes, hoping to see a new email, hoping to see some sign that her words hadn't just vanished into the void. But as time went on, the excitement began to fade. The hope that had fueled her began to shift into doubt. Maybe she had been too naive. Maybe she had set herself up for disappointment. Maybe Elon Musk was simply too busy, too far removed from her world, to care about the struggles of an ordinary girl. Her friends and family didn't help. They had always been supportive, but now, their well-meaning words only reminded her of the possibility that nothing would come from this. You shouldn't get your hopes up, they told her. It's a long shot. I'm sure he has thousands of people contacting him every day. While their words were grounded in reality, they only made her feel smaller, as though this was a foolish dream that would never materialize. Still, she didn't want to give up. It was in her nature to push forward, to fight for what she wanted, even when the odds seemed impossible. She remembered what she had told herself when she first sent the message: she had nothing left to lose. The only way she could fail was by not trying. But the silence continued. It wasn't until a week later, when she least expected it, that everything changed. She had been going about her day as usual, drowning in the monotony of job applications that went unanswered and missed opportunities. She was tired, mentally exhausted from all the setbacks she had encountered in her life. Just as she was about to shut her computer and call it a day, an email notification popped up. At first, she thought it was just another generic rejection. But when she saw the name in the sender's field, her heart skipped a beat. Elon Musk. She froze for a moment. It couldn't be real. It had to be some sort of mistake. But the name was unmistakable. Her hands trembled as she clicked on the email. There it was, clear as day, his response. And it wasn't just a brief acknowledgement or a polite thank you for reaching out. It was a personal message, one that made her heart race as she read it. Musk had taken the time to read her message. He had seen something in her words that made him respond. His email wasn't dismissive, nor was it the kind of impersonal response she expected. It was kind, compassionate, and thoughtful. He thanked her for reaching out, acknowledged her struggles, and even expressed admiration for her determination. It wasn't a generic response, this was real, this was personal. He went on to say that he had a few openings at one of his companies, and while he couldn't guarantee anything, he wanted to give her the chance to meet with him in person and discuss potential opportunities. The girl sat there, staring at the email in disbelief. The world seemed to slow down around her. Her heart pounded as the reality of the situation began to sink in. This wasn't just a polite, no, this was an invitation, a real chance. It was everything she had been hoping for, everything she had dreamed about, and yet it still felt surreal. Could this really be happening? Could someone like her, someone who had spent so much time fighting for recognition, really be given the chance to prove herself? Was this the break she had been waiting for? The email was brief but powerful. It was a door opening, one that had been closed to her for so long. And now, it was up to her to step through it. She read the message again, and then again, just to make sure she wasn't imagining it. No, it was real. It was happening. But now came the next challenge. How would she respond? How could she even begin to convey her gratitude, her excitement, and her determination in a way that was worthy of such an opportunity? This was more than just an interview, it was her chance to make a lasting impression on someone who had the power to change her life. She sat there, overwhelmed with emotions. For a moment, she felt like crying. All the rejection, all the doubt, all the hardships she had faced seemed to fade away in that one instant. The dream that had seemed so far out of reach now felt attainable. It was within her grasp. And so, she began typing her response. She knew this was her chance to show Musk what she was truly capable of. This wasn't just about asking for a job. It was about showing him that she had the drive, the heart, and the determination to succeed. She hit send, and in that moment, everything felt different. She had stepped into a new chapter of her life, and there was no turning back. As the realization of what had just happened sank in, 1,000 thoughts rushed through the girl's mind. She read the email from Elon Musk one more time, absorbing each word carefully, as if hoping to find some hidden meaning that might explain why he had responded to her. The email was clear, he had acknowledged her struggles, appreciated her determination, and invited her to meet in person. The shock of the response was still so overwhelming that she had to pause for a moment. She placed her hand on her chest, trying to steady her breathing. Was this a dream? She thought she had prepared herself for rejection, even if she hoped for something different. But now that the opportunity had arrived, she wasn't sure how to proceed. How was she supposed to meet someone like Elon Musk? What could she say to someone who had transformed entire industries? The next few hours were a blur. She couldn't focus on anything else. The reality of the moment was hard to comprehend. Here she was, a young woman with little more than hope and a message to her name, being given a chance to meet with one of the most influential people in the world. The magnitude of it was both thrilling and terrifying. Her mind raced as she prepared for the meeting. She had never expected this to happen. She was just an ordinary girl who had taken a shot. But now, it seemed as though her world was about to change, and the weight of that realization was both exciting and overwhelming. What should she wear? What would she say? How could she make a good impression when everything about the situation felt so surreal? Every question that popped into her mind only made her feel more anxious. She had been in situations where she had to prove herself, but this was on an entirely different level. This wasn't just about impressing a potential employer. This was about making her dreams come true, about showing that she was worth the chance Musk had offered her. After hours of agonizing over what she should wear and how she should prepare, she finally decided to focus on what she could control, her story. She would speak from the heart. She would tell Musk about her journey, her struggles, and why this opportunity meant so much to her. She knew that if she was going to make a lasting impression, it wouldn't be with fancy words or rehearsed answers, it would be with her honesty, her passion, and her belief in herself. The day of the meeting arrived, and she could hardly contain the rush of emotions that flooded her. Excitement, nervousness, and hope swirled within her as she stepped into the building where the meeting would take place. The place was grand, a far cry from the small office spaces she had been used to, and the employees walking around seemed to be in a hurry, focused on their own tasks. Everything about this place felt different. Everything about this opportunity felt different. As she walked through the door and into the conference room where she would meet Musk, she was greeted by a small team of assistants. They were kind, but their professionalism made her feel like she was stepping into a world she barely understood. The room was sleek, modern, with large windows that looked out over the city skyline. But despite the polished surroundings, it was Musk who commanded her attention. Elon Musk himself stood up from behind the table as she entered. He was exactly as she had imagined, intense, focused, and with an air of authority. But there was something else in his demeanor, a calm, genuine curiosity about her. He didn't offer a hand immediately. Instead, he gestured for her to sit and gave her a warm smile. She took her seat, trying to steady her nerves. The conversation started simply, small talk about how she had come to be in the room. But then, the focus shifted to the heart of the matter, her journey. And this was the moment that would define everything. She spoke from the heart, telling Musk about her childhood, her passion for engineering, and how she had fought against every obstacle to get to this point. She shared the rejections, the doubts, and the times she had almost given up on her dreams. But she didn't just tell him about the struggles. She told him about the fire that burned inside her, the fire that kept her going even when the world seemed to be telling her to quit. Musk listened intently. She could tell he was absorbing every word. His eyes were focused on her, and there was no trace of judgment, no sense of impatience. Instead, there was a quiet acknowledgement that she was speaking her truth. It was a humbling experience for her, one that made her realize how much she had underestimated her own story. When she finished speaking, there was a long silence. She couldn't read Musk's expression, but she wasn't sure she wanted to. The weight of the moment hung in the air, and she waited for him to respond, unsure of what he was thinking. Finally, he spoke. "I'm impressed," Musk said. "Not just by your drive, but by your willingness to keep going despite the odds stacked against you. That's what we look for here." He leaned back in his chair, his gaze thoughtful. "You have a lot of potential. And while I can't guarantee anything right now, I want you to know that this is only the beginning. Let's see where we can take this." His words left her speechless. For the first time in her life, someone believed in her, not because of her background, not because of her credentials, but because of her passion and perseverance. In that moment, she knew that this wasn't just about getting a job. This was a chance to prove to herself that she could be more than the world had expected her to be. This was her moment to shine. The meeting had felt like an eternity. The words Elon Musk had spoken echoed in her mind long after the conversation ended. She had never expected to feel so at ease in his presence. The weight of her nerves had lifted the moment she began speaking, and she realized that it wasn't just about impressing him, it was about sharing who she truly was. And somehow, Musk seemed to recognize that. As she walked out of the building, her heart was still pounding in her chest. She had done it. She had faced her fears, opened up to one of the most influential people in the world, and shared her story with honesty and conviction. But what surprised her the most was how Musk had responded. He hadn't just seen a job candidate in her. He had seen someone with potential, a person who had fought against the odds, someone who, despite all the struggles, still had hope. She replayed their conversation in her mind, wondering if it had all been real. Maybe it was just an encouraging moment, an acknowledgement of her persistence, but would it really lead to something? The self-doubt that had plagued her for so long started to creep back in. What if it had just been empty words? What if she had misinterpreted his kindness as something more? The next few days felt like a waiting game. She returned to her routine, but everything felt different. It wasn't the same. Every time she checked her email, her heart skipped a beat. Was there a message from Musk? She had given him her best, and now all she could do was wait and see if it would pay off. Then, just a few days after their meeting, she got the email she had been hoping for. The subject line read, "Next Steps." Her hands trembled as she clicked open the message. It was short, yet it carried a sense of weight, an invitation to join Musk's company, to be a part of something that could truly change her life. "After our meeting, I've been thinking a lot about your potential. I want to offer you a chance to come on board and contribute to some exciting projects we're working on. It's not just about filling a position, it's about seeing how your skills and passion can help shape something bigger. Let's make this happen." The girl blinked in disbelief, reading the email over and over. It was everything she had ever wanted. It wasn't just a job offer, it was a chance to work alongside people who could help her grow, to be part of something meaningful. Musk wasn't just offering her a chance to earn a paycheck. He was offering her the opportunity to make an impact, to prove that she had something worth contributing. Her mind raced with a million thoughts. How could this be happening? Just a few weeks ago, she had been uncertain whether she could even make it in the world she dreamed of. Now, she was being invited to join the ranks of some of the most brilliant minds in the industry. This wasn't just a job, it was the start of something much bigger. The invitation came with a sense of urgency. Musk wanted her to start as soon as possible. Her heart soared at the thought of finally stepping into a world that had once seemed out of reach. But as excited as she was, she also felt a deep sense of responsibility. This wasn't going to be easy. She knew that. She knew that the road ahead would be filled with challenges, long hours, and moments where she would have to push herself beyond what she thought was possible. But that was what she had always wanted. She wasn't looking for an easy road. She wasn't looking for a handout. She wanted a chance, a real chance to prove that she could achieve what she had always dreamed of. And now, she had it. The next few days were a blur of preparation. She packed her things, made arrangements, and tried to mentally prepare herself for the journey that lay ahead. It was overwhelming at times, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized how much this opportunity meant. This was more than just a job, it was a chance to change her life and the lives of others. On her first day at the company, she was greeted by a team of professionals who welcomed her with open arms. They seemed excited to have her on board, and she was filled with a sense of belonging that she hadn't felt in a long time. The work was challenging, the expectations high, but it was also invigorating. She was doing something she loved, surrounded by people who shared her passion. It felt right. She quickly realized that the work was demanding, far more than she had anticipated. There were long hours, difficult projects, and moments when it seemed like the pressure would break her. But despite the struggles, she found herself thriving in this new environment. The more she worked, the more she realized that this was exactly where she needed to be. Musk wasn't always present, but his influence was felt everywhere. He had created a culture of innovation, one where failure wasn't feared, but seen as an opportunity to learn and grow. It was a mindset that fueled her, that pushed her to keep going even when things got tough. She remembered what he had said during their meeting, "This is just the beginning." And now, as she walked through the halls of Musk's company, she understood what he meant. This wasn't the end of her journey. It was only the start. But even as she embraced the challenges ahead, she couldn't shake the feeling of gratitude. This opportunity wasn't something she had earned through traditional routes. It wasn't something she had achieved through a flawless resume or perfect credentials. It was the result of a single moment of bravery, of reaching out when everything told her it would be a long shot. It was a reminder that sometimes, taking risks, and believing in yourself, is the only way to create a life you never thought possible. The first few weeks at the company felt like a whirlwind. She was thrown into the deep end, tasked with projects that pushed her beyond her limits. But in a way, that was exactly what she needed. The challenges, the deadlines, the constant pressure, it all forced her to grow. There was no room for doubt or hesitation. She had to give everything she had to make it. The team she worked with was brilliant. They were all passionate, dedicated, and driven by the same vision, to push the boundaries of what was possible. It was inspiring to be surrounded by people who not only excelled in their fields but also believed in the power of innovation. Every day felt like a learning experience. And while there were moments of doubt, where she felt like she might not be cut out for this level of work, there were also moments of triumph that reminded her why she was there. But there was one moment, one meeting, that changed everything. It wasn't just about work or tasks, it was a conversation that would redefine the path she was on. It happened on a typical Tuesday morning. The girl had just finished working on a project she had poured her heart into, and she was feeling both exhausted and accomplished. As she walked into the common area to take a break, she saw an assistant approach her with a note. "Elon Musk would like to speak with you. He's in the conference room." Her heart skipped a beat. She had interacted with a few people at the company, but she hadn't yet had a one-on-one conversation with Musk. The idea of meeting him again, especially in a more personal setting, left her feeling both excited and nervous. She had no idea what this meeting was about, but she could feel the weight of it. When she entered the conference room, Musk was sitting at the table, his usual intensity tempered with a sense of calm. He looked up from his work and smiled when he saw her. It wasn't the intimidating smile she had imagined. It was warm, inviting, as though he genuinely wanted to speak with her. "Sit down," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "I've been watching your progress. You're doing great work." The girl felt a wave of pride wash over her. "Thank you, Mr. Musk," she said, feeling a little nervous. "I'm trying my best." Musk nodded thoughtfully, leaning back in his chair. "You know, when I first responded to your message, I saw something in you. It wasn't just your determination, it was the fact that you saw something bigger than yourself. You understand the value of solving real-world problems, and that's what we need here. But there's something I've noticed over the past few weeks." Her heart raced. What was he about to say? "You're capable," Musk continued, "but you're holding yourself back. You've been playing it safe, staying in your comfort zone. I know you've had your share of struggles, but that's behind you now. Here, we expect you to take risks, to think beyond what you think is possible. This job, this opportunity, it's not just about doing what's in front of you. It's about making an impact." She listened intently, trying to process what he was saying. It wasn't just about the work anymore. It was about a mindset. Musk wasn't just telling her to do better. He was telling her to challenge herself, to break free of the mental barriers she had built over the years. "I'm giving you an assignment," Musk said, his voice steady and clear. "It's a big one. But I believe you're ready. I want you to lead a project. It's going to be tough, and it's going to test you. But if you can pull it off, you'll prove to yourself, and to everyone else, that you belong here." The weight of his words hit her like a wave. "Led a project? She had never imagined being in a position like this, not just as a team member, but as a leader. It was an opportunity she had always dreamed of, but now that it was real, she wasn't sure if she was ready. But as she looked at Musk, she saw something else. He wasn't doubting her. He wasn't looking for perfection. He was looking for someone who had the courage to push beyond their limits and take on the unknown. And in that moment, she realized that she had the courage. "I won't let you down," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. Musk smiled, his expression softening. "I know you won't." That meeting, that conversation, became the turning point in her journey. It was the moment when she stopped seeing herself as an outsider, someone who didn't belong. Instead, she began to see herself as someone capable of making a real difference, someone who was part of a team that would change the world. The project Musk assigned her was daunting. It required long hours, countless revisions, and the kind of thinking that pushed her to question everything she thought she knew. But as she dove into the work, she found something within herself that she hadn't known existed. It wasn't just her technical skills that mattered. It was her resilience, her ability to adapt, and her determination to make something great out of seemingly impossible challenges. She wasn't just doing this for herself. She was doing it for everyone who had ever told her no, for everyone who had underestimated her, and for everyone who believed that people like her didn't have a place in this world. She was proving them wrong. And as the project progressed, she could feel the change within herself. She was no longer that uncertain girl who had hesitated to send that first message. She had grown. She had learned to trust in her abilities and to trust in the process. And with every step forward, she realized that this opportunity was more than just a job, it was her chance to make a real impact on the world around her. The days turned into weeks, and as the girl poured her heart and soul into the new project, something remarkable began to happen. The weight of her past struggles, the rejections, the doubts, the moments when she had almost given up, began to feel like distant memories. In their place was a growing sense of empowerment. She was no longer just someone trying to make it, she was someone who was making it. She was in the driver's seat of her own journey, and with each small victory, she gained more confidence in her abilities. The project she was leading was daunting, there was no denying that. It required a level of creativity and technical know-how that tested her in ways she had never been tested before. There were sleepless nights, countless iterations, and moments when the weight of the responsibility felt almost unbearable. But with each challenge, she grew more determined. She had a team now, a team of brilliant, talented individuals who were all there for the same goal, to change the world. She didn't need to do it alone, but she had to lead them. The work wasn't easy, but it was rewarding. The ideas began to take shape, the pieces of the puzzle slowly coming together, and what seemed impossible at first now felt within reach. Every breakthrough, every step forward, was a testament to her belief in herself, and in the belief Musk had placed in her. She wasn't just executing a task, she was pushing boundaries, finding solutions where others saw problems, and making something extraordinary out of the resources at her disposal. At times, the pressure was overwhelming. There were moments when the challenges seemed insurmountable, when failure seemed inevitable. But every time she felt like giving up, she remembered the words Musk had spoken to her during their meeting, "This is just the beginning." And those words became her fuel, reminding her that failure wasn't the end, it was just another opportunity to learn and grow. What surprised her the most, though, was the sense of camaraderie and support she found within the company. She had always imagined that working for someone like Musk would feel distant, as though the hierarchy would create barriers between her and the people she admired. But the opposite was true. The team embraced her as one of their own, and Musk, despite his reputation as a driven and intense individual, was always there to offer guidance when she needed it. As the project progressed, the girl found herself taking on more and more responsibility. She was not just managing a team anymore, she was helping to shape the vision for the future. Her input was valued, her ideas respected. She had gone from the girl who had hesitated to send a message to one of the most influential people in the world to a leader in her own right. But it wasn't just the work that was changing her. It was the way she saw herself. She wasn't just someone who had made it to this point by chance. She had earned it. Every late night, every struggle, every moment of doubt had led her here. And now, standing on the edge of success, she realized something profound: she had become someone who was capable of achieving anything. The girl's journey was no longer about proving herself to others. It was about proving to herself that she could handle whatever came her way. She had learned that success wasn't about avoiding failure, it was about embracing it, learning from it, and using it to propel yourself forward. The breakthrough moment came a few months into the project. After weeks of hard work, late nights, and problem-solving, the team had finally cracked the code. They had created something that not only exceeded expectations but had the potential to change the industry. When Musk walked into the meeting room to see their progress, his eyes lit up. "This is incredible," he said, his voice filled with admiration. "You've done something truly remarkable here." In that moment, the girl realized that this was her new beginning. She wasn't the same person who had walked into this company a few months ago, uncertain and unsure of herself. She had transformed into someone who could tackle the impossible, someone who could lead with vision and determination. And it wasn't just the project that had changed her, it was everything she had learned along the way. The struggles had made her stronger, the challenges had made her wiser, and the opportunity Musk had given her the freedom to grow. She looked around at her team, and for the first time, she felt a deep sense of pride, not just for the work they had done, but for the people they had become. They were no longer just colleagues, they were a family, united by a common goal and a shared belief in the impossible. The girl's journey wasn't over. In many ways, it had only just begun. But one thing was certain: she had found her place in the world. She had earned her seat at the table, and now, nothing could stop her from achieving everything she had ever dreamed of. As the weeks turned into months, the girl began to settle into her role at Musk's company. The initial excitement of being given a chance to prove herself slowly began to transform into something deeper, a sense of purpose. She wasn't just working for a paycheck anymore, she was working for something far greater. She was a part of a movement, a team that was driven by a vision of making the world a better place. Every day, she woke up with a renewed sense of determination, knowing that the work she was doing had the potential to change lives. But even with all the success, there were still moments of doubt. There were days when the pressure felt too much to bear, when the weight of expectations threatened to crush her. And then, there were the moments of imposter syndrome, the feeling that somehow, despite everything she had accomplished, she didn't quite belong in this world. It wasn't just the work that was challenging, it was the self-doubt that continued to haunt her. She had never imagined that the struggles she had faced in her past would follow her into this new chapter of her life. She had worked so hard to get here, to prove that she belonged, yet there were days when she couldn't shake the feeling that she was still an outsider. The pressure to succeed, to be perfect, began to take its toll. She found herself questioning every decision, second-guessing her every move. What if she wasn't cut out for this? What if she failed? What if she couldn't live up to the faith that Musk and her team had placed in her? It was during one of these moments of doubt that she received a message from Musk himself. It wasn't a formal email about work, it was a simple note, sent during one of her more challenging days, when the weight of the world seemed unbearable. "Don't forget," it read, "you've already come so far. You didn't get here by accident. Trust in yourself, because I trust you." It was just a few words, but they were exactly what she needed to hear. They reminded her of how far she had come, of the countless obstacles she had overcome to reach this point. It was a reminder that she wasn't alone, that she didn't have to carry the burden of success on her own shoulders. Musk believed in her, and now, it was time for her to believe in herself. That message sparked something within her. The doubt, the fear, the worry, they all began to fade. It wasn't that the challenges suddenly disappeared, it was that she had learned how to face them head-on. She had learned to take the weight of her responsibilities and use it as fuel, to transform the pressure into something that drove her forward rather than holding her back. From that moment on, she began to approach her work with a renewed sense of confidence. She embraced the challenges, knowing that each obstacle was an opportunity to learn and grow. And when things didn't go according to plan, she didn't see it as failure. She saw it as another lesson, another step toward the person she was becoming. But it wasn't just the work that had changed her. It was the way she had changed herself. She began to see herself not as someone who was constantly trying to prove her worth, but as someone who had already proven it. She had faced her fears, overcome countless obstacles, and still emerged standing. That resilience, that inner strength, had become her greatest asset. The girl was no longer just a member of the team, she was a leader in her own right. She had earned the respect of her colleagues, and she had earned her place among the brightest minds in the industry. But more importantly, she had earned the respect of herself. She had gone from being the girl who was afraid to ask for help to someone who now confidently took on the most challenging projects, knowing that she could handle whatever came her way. Her journey was far from over. There would always be new challenges, new obstacles to overcome, and new lessons to learn. But one thing was certain, she was no longer afraid. She had proven to herself that no dream was too big, no goal too impossible. With every challenge she faced, she knew that she had the strength to overcome it. And so, the girl continued to push forward, with the same determination that had brought her to this point. She no longer saw herself as someone fighting for a chance, she saw herself as someone who had earned her place and was ready to take on whatever came next. As the months passed, her role continued to evolve. She took on bigger projects, led more teams, and became an integral part of the company's future. But through it all, she never forgot the lessons she had learned, to trust herself, to embrace challenges, and to remember that every step forward was a victory in itself. Her journey was no longer just about her own success, it was about inspiring others, about showing people that no matter where they came from or what they had been through, they too could rise above their circumstances and create their own future. She had become a beacon of hope for those who, like her, had once been told that they couldn't make it. She had proved that with determination, resilience, and a little bit of help from those who believed in her, anything was possible. The girl had come a long way since that moment when she sent the simple message to Elon Musk, uncertain of what would come of it. Her journey had been anything but easy, filled with moments of doubt, fear, and frustration. But through it all, she had learned more about herself than she had ever expected. She had learned to trust her instincts, to embrace the challenges, and, most importantly, to believe in herself. Looking back on her journey, she realized that her success wasn't just a result of the opportunities that had come her way. It was a result of her resilience, her determination, and her willingness to keep going even when the odds were stacked against her. She had faced countless rejections, had heard the word no more times than she could count, but she had never let it define her. Instead, she used each rejection as motivation to prove that she could overcome whatever obstacles lay ahead. As her role at Musk's company continued to evolve, she found herself in a position where she could mentor others, just as Musk had mentored her. She began to see the same spark of determination in the eyes of the new recruits, the same nervous excitement that had once burned in her. She saw herself in them, in their struggles, their doubts, and their dreams. And she made it her mission to be the kind of mentor that she had always wished she had, someone who would encourage them to take risks, to embrace failure, and to keep pushing forward no matter what. One afternoon, as she sat in a meeting with her team, she found herself reflecting on how far she had come. She had not only proven her worth to herself, but she had also earned the respect of those around her. She had gone from a girl who once doubted her own potential to a leader who was shaping the future of the company. And as she looked at the faces of the people in the room, she realized that she had become a part of something much larger than herself, a movement that was making a real difference in the world. But the most important lesson she had learned throughout her journey was that success wasn't about reaching the top or achieving personal accolades. It was about helping others along the way, lifting them up, and making a positive impact on the world. She had been given the opportunity of a lifetime, but now it was her turn to pay it forward, to help others see the potential within themselves, just as Musk had done for her. The girl's story wasn't just one of success, it was one of growth, resilience, and transformation. She had proven that no matter where you come from, no matter how many doors are closed in your face, you can achieve greatness if you have the courage to take that first step, to believe in yourself, and to never give up. She stood in the doorway of her office one evening, looking out over the city as the sun set. The world had changed for her in ways she never thought possible. And as she thought about all that she had accomplished, she realized that the real success was not in the job title or the accolades. It was in the journey itself, the lessons learned, the people she had met along the way, and the person she had become. And now, she had the power to inspire others to follow in her footsteps, to show them that no dream was too big, no goal too impossible. The future was uncertain, but one thing was for sure: she would continue to chase her dreams, to take risks, and to push the boundaries of what was possible. Because, in the end, it wasn't about what you achieved, it was about who you became along the way. As she stepped back into her office and closed the door behind her, she smiled. The lesson was clear: never stop believing in yourself, even when it seems impossible. Because when you have the courage to take that first step, you never know just how far you can go.